All right, Rob, let's get it going. And one team that is not looking good, and it's really not that much of a surprise, the Cincinnati Bengals. 0-2 for the second straight year. And that, isn't really the bad news for them. I mean, that's not great. They started 0-2 last year and made the playoffs, which is rare. But now, with a 17-game season, you have a little more cushion. But the worst news for them, they fell 27-24 to Baltimore in Cincinnati on Sunday. But the worst news, Rob, is that quarterback Joe Burrow is not only not playing well, he threw for 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick against 222, against the Ravens. But the calf injury that he strained or sustained in the preseason is bothering him again. He re-aggravated it yesterday against the Ravens, and now his status is up in the air for their upcoming game. Rob, this is really, really problematic. If they're 0-2 and Joe Burrow is healthy, I'm not that concerned if I'm the Bengals. I mean, obviously you hate to be in that hole. You got to climb out of it, but you got 15 weeks to do so, 15 games left to do so. But the bigger problem is now Joe Burrow. And Rob, a calf injury, we know what that can turn into. Remember Kevin Durant had a calf injury in the NBA Finals, I believe it was 2019 against Toronto, and tore his Achilles when he tried to go out and play prematurely in the finals, was out more than a year. Aaron Rodgers, who just suffered the Achilles injury, we presume is season ending, although he's going to try to come back sooner than that. It started with a calf injury in the in training camp or OTAs. And so you've got to be careful with the calf, Rob. And I think the Bengals, it seemed like Burrow came back early. I'll say two things. One, Rob, I think they need to sit him out as long as it takes to get him 100%. Or, as close as possible, where there's no lingering effect from the calf, because you don't want this to become an Achilles and keep you out the rest of the season and maybe even parts of next season. That's the first thing. Secondly, Rob, it looks like they rushed him back. And I don't think he put pressure on them. I don't think they put pressure on him. I think he felt like he was ready. Those are the indications. But they probably should have erred on the side of caution, because I thought, Rob, they had a great chance, and I said this when he got hurt, of losing these first 2 games anyway. Because with Burrow missing all the training camp, you knew he'd be rusty. That was the case last year. And Cincinnati and Baltimore kind of have the Bengals number. Baltimore 7-1 against Cincinnati when Lamar Jackson starts. Cleveland has now won 9 of its last 11 against the Bengals. They haven't lost to them in Cleveland since 2017. So it was just, with Burrow not 100% or rusty, it seemed like they were going to lose these games even if you brought him back, and that's certainly what happened. And so now you face the problem of being 0-2 and maybe missing him for the next few weeks. So this is serious, and I think they could be in deep trouble, Rob, as far as making the playoffs this year.
Yeah, it's not the ideal start, and you can't keep getting in a hole. This is 4 out of 5 years they started 0-2. And I know Joe Burrow's like makeup, where you cover up all the flaws or whatever, but you can't keep relying on that.
Right.
That's going to catch up with you eventually. And, if he's not healthy, he shouldn't play. We talk about it all the time. It just doesn't make sense to put somebody out there. I know you still say, well, he's still, even at 70%, he's still better than the backup quarterback at 100%. I get all that. And there are times and situations where it totally makes sense, and I get it. If it's for the big game and it matters for something, Chris, sometimes you have to do that. But in this situation to start the season, it just doesn't seem like it's worth it long term for the Bengals. But just sign the guy to a big contract. Do you want to, maybe have this guy injure himself so much that he's out for the entire season? Would you rather let him rest 3-4 weeks, get him right, and then make your playoff push? Or do you feel like – because at this point, playing like this, if he has another 2 games and they're 0-4, they're not making the playoffs. I don't care how healthy he gets. They're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I hear you. And look, you don't want to look at it this way, and it is too early to look at it this way. And even if he's out for a few games, you don't think this if you're the Bengals. I mean, you don't verbalize it, and the players don't want to think about it. But, Rob, if it came down to we don't make the playoffs this year because he has to miss, the next 3 weeks, and they start 1-4, or we don't make the playoffs because he misses the next 4 weeks and they start 1-5 or 2-4, you know what? That's just, you have to sacrifice this season. And again, you don't verbalize that. You don't concede it until you're out of it. But I would rather do that, Rob, if I'm the Bengals, and have him ready and healthy for next year and going forward than to put him out there and risk a more serious injury. And now you compromise next season as well. I
get it. And I understand. I also get why people don't want to give up a season. You know what I mean? I do get it. But you might have to, just because it could be even worse. You might wind up losing 2 seasons.
Right. I
mean, it's like he's hurt. You might have to give up 1 season. You don't want to give up 2.
And to the point you made, if you rush him back, Rob, and he's not going to play well, he's not been playing well at all. He has not been Joe Burrow. First game, Rob, he threw for 82 yards.
Yeah, that was a clunker from Jump Street. That was like awful.
The loss to Cleveland. They weren't even in that. That was 24-3. Throws for 82 yards, no touchdowns. The second game, just yesterday against Baltimore, it wasn't as close as 27-24. Baltimore was in control all the way. And he did throw. He was better, 27 for 41, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick in the red zone. But still, not the Joe Burrow that we've gotten used to. And the thing is, Rob, if their thought was, you know what, we got to win the next game. Heck, we got to win the next 2. So we can't rest him. We can't leave him out there. And Joe may be like, look, I'm good. I can go. And you have to protect him from himself. But, Rob, if he's not going to play close to his optimum level, you're not helping yourself anyway.
Right. We saw that, Chris. We talked about it before. When when Brett Favre went to the Jets. Remember they were 8-3?
Yes.
He was injured, didn't tell anybody. Maybe they knew, but he kept playing. And they didn't even make the playoffs that year. That's right. They didn't even make the playoffs. I think we were talking to Braylon Edwards? Was he on that team?
We've talked to somebody before, but we weren't.
But we were talking to somebody
last week.
Who said, you know what I mean, and it wound up costing them. You know what I mean? So it's a tough spot.
Yeah, so they just need to protect Joe Burrow. They need to protect their organization. Rob, you said if you give up 2 years, I mean, you've given him this long-term deal. You'd rather give up 1 year than 2 if that's what you have to do. And here's the other thing, Rob, and this has already shown itself. If he sits out the next 3 weeks, let's face it, if he sits out the next 3 weeks, Rob, I think they're done. I think they're done. Because one, you might lose. They got the Rams, Rob, who are actually playing well. They lost to San Francisco yesterday, but they're playing much better than anybody expected. So that could be a loss, especially if Burrow doesn't play. Then you've got the Titans, Rob, who they're always tough. They're not as good, but they're kind of like the Steelers, Rob. You know what I mean? Under Vrabel, like they're just always going to give you a tough game. They're always going to be a pretty good team. And so those are two games that could be losses. Then they got the Cardinals, who actually have played better than people expected as well. They gave up a game against the Giants yesterday. They were 21-3, 20-0.
What a stinker that was. My God.
Yeah,
oh, my God.
That was a bad.
That was bad.
Great comeback by the Giants, but, man.
Well, they shouldn't have even been in that
situation
situation to be down like that to
60,
that team.
they were down 60-0
On the season, right.
in their first 6 quarters.
But
anyway, so you could start, if you start 1-4, let's say they would beat the Cardinals, then Burrow comes back. Again, Rob, he's probably rusty, right? I mean, he will have had hardly any playing time this year. 2 bad games. And so this is going to be tough for them. They got Seattle and the 49ers and the Bills 3 straight games after they play Arizona. So they're in trouble. There is no doubt about it.